everyone, and welcome to another edition of Coast Connections. It's our pleasure today to have with us two staff from Literacy Central Vancouver Island who are there to impart the ability to read and write and the gift of reading and writing. And you've heard the saying, today a reader and tomorrow a leader. Well, Literacy Central Vancouver Island is integral to helping that happen in our communities here on the island. So welcome, ladies. Michelle Hillier, the Executive Director of Literacy Central Vancouver Island, and Margaret Ames, the Tutor Coordinator for Literacy Cdi as well. Thank you, ladies, for the tremendous work that you're doing in our community to build the community, to build a connectiveness, to build strong communities here on the island. So this is wonderful. Michelle, how long have you been the Executive Director there at Literacy Cdi?
Just about 1.5 years now. Yes, yeah. So I used to work there as the Community Literacy Outreach Coordinator, which was called the Clock, and then then I started as the Executive Director.
And Literacy Cdi has been around for how many years?
Now it's 26 years.
26 years.
So last year actually we celebrated 25 years and had a big thing at Beban Park with wonderful speakers and about 160 people came for a sit-down meal. Yeah, so.
Wonderful. And Margaret, your work with the tutor program and a lot of the community outreach work that you do, I understand that you also work in the correction system?
Yes, I'm one of the tutor coordinators for Literacy Central. There's 3 of us, and we provide one-on-one and small group matches to anybody over 18 who wants to improve their language or their math or their computer skills. Our catchment basin is between Ladysmith and Nanaimo, so the bulk of our matches are in Nanaimo proper. We're partnered with VIU, so a lot of our matches are at VIU, but my responsibilities are out in the communities, which include corrections, as you mentioned.
Right. There's so many facets to Literacy Cdi that people probably aren't aware of. I mean, the work that you're doing with seniors, the work that you're doing with children and families, the work that you're doing with the Syrian families, we'll talk about that today as well, and computer literacy, math literacy, all of those.
And we're also in the schools, in the elementary schools, with a great program called Bears and Beams.
Bears and Beams?
Bears and Beams. So that was actually originally started by a man called Bill Pinio, who used to drive bus in the school district. And when he retired, apparently he went down to Arizona, came across this program and brought it back to Nanaimo. And then at some point after he'd done it for a couple of years, he then passed it over to Literacy Central. Yeah.
Wow.
It stands for be enthusiastic about
reading.
Be enthusiastic about math.
Oh,
right. Bears and Beams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah.
So they're not called tutors, they're called reading buddies. So they go in and they work one-on-one with a child who's having challenges in math or reading, and it's in the elementary schools.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And starting at a very young age.
Yes.
Yeah. They say, how long does it take to fall in love? And it's usually about 3 chapters. So to get that love of reading instilled at an early age is so integral.
And the opportunity to read and to learn.
And you're never too old. You may have missed it earlier in your life, but through your programs too, adult literacy is also a huge thing.
Quite a number of older people come in and they just want to improve their language skills or until fairly recently, a lot of computer skills. There used to be the people who would come in that literally didn't know what a mouse was or how to turn the computer on. Now we've moved on a bit for that, but there's still a lot of people that got their last job with a resume in hand, and nowadays they have to have it on a stick or email it or something, and they simply don't have the skills, and we do help with that.
And it can be very intimidating,
Hugely intimidating.
And you can get left behind so quickly with technology that you almost get out of the mainstream. And there's wonderful provisions here that you folks are doing to provide bridges that people can build those bridges back to become more part of the mainstream with technology.
And one of the nice things about the program is most of our matches are one-on-one, which means you are not in a classroom. You're matched with one-on-one, you'll meet with your tutor at a time that's convenient to both of you in any public location. And the volunteer tutor gives 3 hours a week to work with the learner on whatever it is they want to do, be it computer, language, or math skills.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, currently, Michelle, how many tutors do you have in the program with Literacy Cdi?
We have around 120.
Wow,
Well,
that's quite a base.
So 120 tutors, active tutors. So we have another 45 in the Bears and Beams. And we have about 40 who work in the bookstore.
So you're looking at almost 200,
over 200 volunteers.
Tremendous.
Yeah, tremendous. It's
Wow.
really amazing.
We have
Yes.
put 840 people through tutor training since the inception of this program. And that's simply for the one-on-one program, not for the Bears and Beams, and not talking about the volunteers elsewhere,
Wow.
but just that one program.
That is
Yeah.
tremendous.
Yeah.
And those connections that you're building, I'm sure some of those people stay in touch for,
For years
after.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What a gift.
Yes.
What a gift
Yes.
to
It is a
learn.
gift.
What a gift to help teach someone to learn to read and write, and what a gift to be the recipient of that. So it's
And
such
some
a
of the
reciprocal
people
thing.
who've been matched with their learners still continue to meet with them, socially as the years, have gone by. And
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
So what is the commitment then, if I were to sign up to become a tutor, what would my commitment be to the program, Michelle?
The commitment, first of all, the commitment will be to take training.
And what does
So
that
depending, like there is a longer training. So I actually took that in 2011, didn't I? And Margaret was one of the teachers, and I wanted to go and work out at the jail. So I worked out at the jail, actually volunteered for 2.5 years. So I would say, what is the commitment? About a year now? Are you asking?
Well,
for
we
6 months?
ask a 6-month commitment for anybody who comes on. The average tutor stays with us for 2 years, although we have
good
lots
return.
of tutors who are there 5 and 10, and we have the odd one who's 15, and 2 we're honoring this year for 20.
Wow.
So they tend to, stick with us. But we ask for a minimum commitment of 6 months because we train them, and you have to go through a RCMP check.
Yeah, criminal record checks.
Yeah,
Good to know.
so we want a bit of a commitment.
Yes.
And we have 2 levels of training. So there's usually about an 8-hour one if somebody's already been in the school district. It's the person is a retired teacher. And then for somebody like myself, who I'm a community social worker, then it's around 30 hours.
30 hours.
Yes.
And would that be spread out over a series of months?
More months or weeks?
Twice. Well, we usually run them twice a week, so it takes a couple of months.
Okay. That's not that daunting then. It's
it's
very good.
But most recently, we've done the orientation for tutors because the demographics have changed over the years. Over the years, I've been involved with literacy, and there are a good number of retired teachers now who no longer want to be in the system, but really would like to keep their hand in.
Sure, still have a passion for
Still have a
teaching.
passion. So there's not much that we need to tell them about, teaching. We need to introduce them to tutoring. And some of the subtleties that go with that, but it's not like taking somebody who has another background, not necessarily in education, but there are just a lot more of those people around than there were, 15 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
And working with adults too.
And working with
that's
adults.
also
That's a different skill.
It's a different skill. Yes. Yeah.
Now, Michelle, you're a not-for-profit organization, and you have your amazing bookstore you have downtown.
Yes.
That must be a fairly big source of your funding. But how are you funded?
So it is a big source of our funding, and it really helps because it's not assigned, that funding isn't assigned to anything, which makes it easy for us. But we also get funding from the Ministry of Advanced Education. That's what is called our CALP funding.
Okay.
So we get that funded for First Nations programs and family and adult, and then money from BC Gaming. We're supported by Dakota Literacy Solutions, which is the big literacy organization in BC. It's fabulous. And we've got a few little fundings through United Way, and we had Mid-Island Co-op funded us, so little bits of funding from there. And then we have a great partnership with 2 Rotary clubs.
Oh, wonderful.
Here. So
Good.
the big, so we have this, it sort of really works well.
Quite a mix.
It's a, yes, and with the Rotary, so there are about 5 book bins around Nanaimo, and that's by Oceanside Rotary, and they built the book bins, they pick the books up, they come and deliver them to us, so they drop them off. So then our staff and volunteers will sort through the books, and there's a portion of them which will get recycled. So we have lots of boxes of recycled books that we then will phone up the big Rotary, which is the oldest Rotary club in Nanaimo, and that goes towards their book sale,
big book
right?
sales that they have.
And then they've been so generous with us. So the first weekend of the book sale in autumn, we receive half the proceeds from that.
That's very generous.
So how wonderful is that? So actually
yeah.
on Friday this week, I'm just about to go and pick up the check for that from Rotary. So
Like the sounds of that.
Yeah, very nice.
And viewers can also go online, literacycdi.org. They can donate there, and they can also donate books to the bookstore or to the
Absolutely.
various
And
book drops.
computers.
And
We
computers.
have a computer refurbishing program,
Okay.
and as I always tell a lot of my tutors, that if you've got something that you're no longer working with and you want to rehome it, we would be happy to have it. We're licensed with Microsoft, and then we will donate it to a family
Good to know.
who needs it. It is good to know. It's a marvelous
Wonderful.
program. Yeah,
Really,
Yes.
really is.
Books and computers.
Books and computers. Yeah.
So our volunteer, there's a volunteer who refurbishes the computers. So, and he's been working with us for over 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And last year we were a bit crazy. We gave out over 220 computers, and then of course we're rushing because we didn't have enough monitors, and I was putting it out in the newspaper and
Wow.
and contacting different places. So we've now settled down, and we're very clear about these have to be for learners. So it's really nice when somebody's upgrading, going to school. So we can give them. So we're now giving out 10 a month.
Wonderful.
But they have Microsoft Windows Office 10 on it.
All equipped.
So
Yeah.
very well equipped.
They come with all the
Good to
things
know.
you need.
So, you know, if you have one collecting dust down in
That's
your
just
basement,
it. Please bring it
contact
in.
Literacy
Please,
CDI.
nice flat monitors,
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
like that. Thank you,
They'll put it to good
Elizabeth.
use. Absolutely. They'll rehome it. as they
Yes,
say. I like
we
that
will,
word.
and of
Yeah.
course all the information is wiped off. So
Yes,
it's
exactly.
yes.
So Margaret, talk to us about some of the Syrian families that have come to our area and how you are helping them with the learning English and writing English.
Well, it's certainly a daunting task for them. I've spent about the last year or so working with various Syrian families. The first one happened to be in Ladysmith, and they were there. They had various levels of English, and I went in and spoke to them all and assessed them, which is what I do with any learner, and find out how we can help them, what it is they want to learn.
Yes.
And the Syrians that I'm coming across are sort of in one of two camps. Some of them are fairly well educated, and their English skills are rudimentary, but some of them are there. And then there are people who didn't have a huge amount of formal education in their lives back in Syria, and so the whole process of going back to school is even more daunting.
Oh, I can't imagine.
It's very, very
What
tough.
a challenge.
A tremendous challenge. A lot of the refugees that we're taking in Canada are coming out of Jordan for whatever reasons Canada's decided to do. So those are the ones that are being imported into Canada, and a lot of them, or some of them, have ended up in Nanaimo. The ones in Ladysmith did eventually move to Alberta, but I have 7 or 8 active matches at the moment of people who are who I matched one-on-one with a tutor who are working on basic level, the 4 prongs of ESL tutoring: listening, speaking, reading and writing. But what I impress upon them is that really what we're doing is we're there for them. And if they want to work on reading today or listening tomorrow, that's just fine.
Meeting their needs.
Meeting their needs.
Where they're at.
Field trips. Learning does not take place in a classroom solely, and I encourage the pairs to, because we're situated next to Port Place, you know, to go over and wander through vegetables, get some language around the shopping you need to do, have
Real
somebody
life.
beside you who can point out different types of bread, or where to get the flat bread, or where to get the hummus, or the you know, that are really useful, you know, information for them. So.
That's tremendous.
And I spent 3 weeks last October in Greece in a Syrian refugee camp, which was something that I did because I wanted to, but it gave me a very much insight into the complexities of the problem, and also gave me the opportunity to spend time with a lot of the people over there, which was a very wonderful experience.
And what a different perspective coming home with that.
Yes.
And the empathy that you can bring, you know, to the program. I mean, you already are, but to have that firsthand experience.
Tough place. You know, the refugee camps. The nicest thing you can say about them is that at least they're safe, meaning at least there's not bombs, and they have rudimentary shelter and nutrition, but it's vastly complex and very complicated, and doesn't appear to be going away anytime soon.
Well, thank you for the work that you're doing to help them integrate here. I mean, we're all immigrants here. You know,
yes.
Some have more seniority than others.
Yeah,
this is what Canada's made of. So
and
how
so
wonderful
thankful.
that they can come in and take advantage of resources like this, which our forefathers and mothers couldn't.
No.
You know, they came in cold, and how nice that we can offer this now.
Yes.
Michelle, let's talk about Bookfest. Bookfest is coming up.
Bookfest is coming up.
And there's also another event in March that you want to talk to us about.
There is, but I think by the time this airs, it will be over and done with.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about Bookfest.
So we can talk about Bookfest. So we've actually, there are nine authors that come to Nanaimo every
From
year.
all across Canada?
From across Canada, and they do there's a team that chooses who's coming, because we want to make sure that Canada's represented as well. So many have, if we're applying for Canada Council money, so many have to come from the rest of Canada, not just BC. So 9 authors, it's 31 years this year. Last year it celebrated 30, totally run by volunteers. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
That's amazing. So over the last few years, what we've done at Literacy is to really promote First Nation authors.
Wonderful.
So there were First Nation authors beforehand, but now what we're doing is we write the BC Arts proposal with the Métis Association, actually, the Mid-Island Métis Association, and then those First Nation authors, and there will be 2 of them usually every year, go into the independent First Nation schools. So they would not otherwise get to have these wonderful authors and illustrators. So we're also tying it in this year with Margaret and the Corrections. So Richard Van Camp is coming. He's a very celebrated First Nations author that comes from Edmonton, and has written a myriad of books, from board books right up to adult books, and
Quite a range.
Yeah, what a range. So I did actually bring his books here just to give you an idea. So I'll actually start with this one. So this is also illustrated by George Littlechild, fabulous illustrations, very great.
Beautiful.
And a beautiful, funny story about what's the most beautiful thing, about horses. So he will be reading those at Bookfest, and then he's also does some graphic novels, which I'm really partial to, because this really gets the teens reading.
Yes.
These are great visuals. And he will actually go to Sawalk Teen Learning Center, which is a new teen learning center in Nanaimo, and be reading those books there.
Wonderful.
So,
Now, is Bookfest a week long? Or
actually, it could be up to 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Bookfest, the actual days is the first Saturday of May, and then the authors and illustrators will come the week before.
Okay.
And sometimes it's gone for 2 weeks beforehand, but yeah.
And the details can be found on bookfest.ca.
Bookfest, those are great website, yes. So here are the adult books. So he'll be reading the graphic novels and the adult books, and he's actually going into the jail and doing 3 readings there.
We've arranged to have, we run a book club in Corrections, and where we meet once a month, and this coming month, in the beginning of April, I am going to have Richard Van Camp. There are some books for the guys to be reading there.
Very good.
Because the 5th of May is the day that he's coming into Corrections and is doing readings out there for the guys there.
Which facility do you work at?
At Brannan Lake. Yeah.
And how many inmates would be coming to your book club there?
It varies. Probably, to better answer your question, jotted this down, we have, since we've been doing book clubs, we have had 69 guys in one of the units who have come. Like, we started this in July.
Not all at once.
No. We
Yes.
started
That would be
the
a
1st of July.
of books.
And we're there the first Wednesday of every month. But cumulatively, we've had 69 guys in one unit and 53 guys in the other, and they have each read 10 books over the time. And the discussions
Fabulous.
are interesting.
Yeah.
The interactions are good. It's been, I think, very positive and a lot of fun for the guys. And they're
what
quite
a rich experience.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah.
all part of the rehabilitation angle of corrections as well, right?
There's all just different conversations that come in, and geography. Like the last book we wrote or read was Tiger, which was set in the eastern part of the Soviet Union. What was the Soviet Union, now Russia. But, so we discussed the geography of where that was and all that. And lots of good conversations.
Yes, that's very enriching. There's no, smaller point between two people, but a book.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You both enjoy the same book,
yeah.
you're automatically connected.
And
it's
as
very
they
rich.
leave, I ask them to comment on how they've enjoyed book club and whatever. And some of the comments I've got are just, really lovely, just how much I have enjoyed. Bricky and I will be reading more when I, upon my release. And
Yeah, wonderful.
So-
And how long has literacy been involved in corrections? Is that a recent thing? Or?
No, about 9 years or 10
yeah,
years?
2007.
Okay,
Yeah.
And is that common around the province, or is that unique
There
to
are are literacy programs in many of the institutions, I think. I've only worked in on Brannan Lake here. So
Because I've always said it's a crime if you don't know how to read.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons that some of the guys are there is
Exactly,
low level
yeah.
skills and low self-esteem and whatever. So yeah.
And Michelle, tell us a little bit about your seniors programs.
We don't really per se have senior programs, so we're primarily working with adults.
Okay.
So we may have seniors who are involved in that, but we're not really focusing on seniors at this point. What we're looking at as far as computer literacy is we're also looking at financial literacy. So we have somebody who's doing a little assessment right now to look at the different financial programs that the banks are offering, and then how we tailor something that's very specific to the organizations that may want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I also wanted to share is we're also looking at an assessment. We have a social work student working with us right now who's doing her 4th year practicum, and she wanted to get into community social work, and she is doing an assessment. And so she's going out, and lots of the staff are now involved, lots of the coordinators are, so Margaret will be involved as well, and Jocelyn and Jacqueline, and they'll be going out and talking to the agencies and saying, okay, is there anything we can do differently? Can we offer? Can we partner? How can we do this? I mean, I look and say, we've been here for 25 years. Okay, what do we need to do differently?
Yes, mix it up.
Mix it up a little bit.
Refresh.
And are we really reaching and looking at the needs of the client, you know, our learners in Nanaimo.
Keeping it current.
How do we access some of these people? Because it's very, very difficult to come walking through the front door, as lovely and as open as ours is, to come in and say, hey.
Rather daunting.
Very, very daunting.
Yes.
Takes a massive amount of courage.
Yes.
Running a little bit low on time here, but I just wanted to
I could sort of sense that from
each of you. Just briefly, Michelle, why do you do what you do with Literacy Cdi?
I just love the work. I love the work. I love the staff. I love the volunteers, the people who walk in. It's just, it's a wonderful way of giving back to the community.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Margaret.
A lot of what Michelle said, I've been involved with it since the 90s. I love the work. You do make a difference, and it is, you meet so many fascinating, interesting people, both the tutors and the learners, but also all the people who come in the bookstore and the staff. It's just an amazing place, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Well, thank you to you both for coming on Coast Connections today, and good luck with Bookfest.
Thank you.
I hope it's a huge success again. And continued success with the work you're doing with the Syrian families and with the corrections as well. And to our viewers, if you have books that you want to donate or computer equipment, literacycdi.org, you can go there for details on how to donate those and for further information as well. And just remember that reality starts when you put that book down. So enjoy reading, and we will see you next time here on Coast Connections. Thanks for joining us.